Today, we're going to do a quick dive into looking at our participation reports at Crossref. So while we all settle, just say hello in the chat, put your name, organization, where are you joining from, maybe toss in an emoji, how are you feeling today? And just as a reminder, the session is being recorded and all of the participants will receive an email afterwards with the recording. So you will be able to access it later. As we kick off our session today, let me start by reminding you that we want all of our meetings to be safe, respectful, and productive for everyone. So we ask that you be mindful of our code of conduct. The link is on the slide. You can see it there. And just as another reminder, Crossref does not allow the use of AI assistants in the meetings, so they will be excluded from the meeting. And I'm also sharing the link to the code of conduct with you in chat right now. All right. So welcome. Today we are hosting a webinar that we call Metadata Health Checks. And we're going to check today how good is your metadata is. We're going to give you a bit of a tour of the Crossref Participation Reports tool. And yes, welcome. We're not in January. It's our bad that we forgot to change the date, but I assure you, me and my colleague Rosa here, we worked hard on making it a good event today. So yeah, who's here today? My name is Marina and I'm the Member Experience Manager at Crossref. I've been for around 3 years with Crossref now, and I hope all of our members get a good experience. And I'm based in Vienna, Austria. Together with me today is Rosa. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself, Rosa?
Absolutely. I'm happy that you're all joining us today. My name is Rosa Maurice Clark, Communications and Events Manager here at Crossref, and I'm located in the United States in the Northeast. Happy to see you all.
Thank you so much for your introduction, Rosa. So, what are we going to cover today? A little bit of the agenda. So we're going to talk about membership obligations, the importance of Research Nexus and the metadata, and then we're going to do a proper dive into participation reports. Just as a reminder, how can you use Zoom is that you have your audio and video off, and then maybe for the Q&A part, you can request to talk and ask your questions. You have the chat where I see already some people have been introducing themselves. It's really nice to see who is here. You can react with the emojis. And please, if you have any questions during our presentation, put them in the Q&A box so it is easier for us then to answer. You can also enable captions and follow our live transcript of our presentation, as well as there is a feature on Zoom that allows you to translate those as well. Now, I think we're done with the logistics part and organizational part of today. So let's look at your role in the Research Nexus. As a Crossref member, there are several things that you do. You register unique DOIs for each item you publish. You provide a rich metadata record for each item you publish. So the richer, the better. And it's going to be a theme throughout today's session. And then you also need to display this DOI on a unique landing page. And these unique landing pages should contain full bibliographic information so the user can verify they have been delivered to the correct item. The DOI displayed as a URL. So if a reader wishes to cite this item, they can just copy paste the DOI link. There should be a way to access the full text of the content. It's acceptable if it's behind a login or a paywall. It's fine as long there is a way to access it. And a DOI can resolve to the HTML full text of the content. And if this page includes the full bibliographic information and the DOI is displayed as a link, a separate landing page is not necessary. It is not a good practice, however, to link directly to a PDF because the download will start when the link is clicked, and we want to have this intermediary page for the user to make a choice. And of course, as a Crossref member, you need to keep the metadata record associated with this DOI up to date. I already said metadata a couple of times today. So, what metadata are we talking about? So, there are various metadata records, and there are many various types of content. And of course, there's different information about different types of content. So let's talk about a journal article. I think the majority of Crossref members register specifically journal articles, and we can accept pretty much any content type. But this is going to give you a good overview of the important metadata elements that exist. So you have the basic metadata, such as titles, dates, author names, abstracts, DOI, resolution URL. You can include full text URLs, for example, for text mining and similarity check. You can provide also additional metadata, such as crossmark metadata about updates, retractions, corrections, about relationships between the content. You can provide more information about the publisher or funder or who's stewarding it, any kind of additional funding information, as well as contributor and affiliations. And we do recommend you to include the ORCID IDs and ROR IDs. This is an XML file, so that's how machines actually read the metadata. And we collect this, our members register rich metadata records, even if you're using helper tools. For those of you who don't know XML, those on the back side get converted to an XML file. So it's very easy for machines to read, because then we make all of this information and all of this metadata publicly accessible via our REST API. All of these metadata elements and the relationships that I've been talking about so far, they form a network, and we call it the research nexus. So we envision it as a rich and reusable open network of relationships that connect research organizations, people, things, and action. And the idea behind this that we co-create a scholarly record that the global community can build on forever for the benefit of the society. And you might think, why is this so important? The XML record that I just showed you is just one example of what a metadata record looks like. Since all of the metadata available with Crossref can be accessed using our open APIs, the REST API is relied on by a large part of the research information community and beyond, seeing around 1.8 billion requests each month. This number has tripled in the last 5 years. And we have to say that our members are the heaviest users, using it for all kinds of information about their own records, but also picking up connections like citations and other relationships. Databases, discovery tools, libraries, and governments all use our REST API. They can be used by different research groups for all sorts of things, such as analyzing trends in science or recording retractions and corrections. So the chances are really high that almost any tool you rely on in scientific research has somewhere incorporated metadata through us. Metadata and relationships between research objects and entities can support the whole scholarly research ecosystem in many ways, including research integrity. So they can help to provide signals about the trustworthiness of the work, including provenance information such as who funded it, when, for how much, which organizations and people contributed what, where something was updated or corrected, whether it was checked for originality. So all of these signals can be expressed through Crossref metadata. There is also then the question of reproducibility. So by sharing all of this metadata with the world, we're also helping others to reproduce outcomes by adding relationships between literature, data, software, protocols, and methods, and more. All of these relationships can be asserted through members' ongoing stewardship of their Crossref metadata records. It is also used for reporting and assessment, so helping organizations such as universities, funders, governments to track and demonstrate the outcomes of investment, maybe provide benchmarking information, show compliance with funder mandates, and generally decide what other research to fund. So all of this kind of information can be included in Crossref metadata. And of course, it has a big impact on discoverability. So it's helping people and systems identify work through multiple angles. Registering content with Crossref makes it possible for work to be found and used. Thousands of systems use Crossref metadata, and therefore, the richer your record is, the more visibility there is likely to be for your work. Including metadata like abstracts and references are very simple ways to increase the visibility of your records. And now, when we're done with all of theoretical part of the metadata, I'm gonna pass over to Rosa, and she's gonna guide us on the participation reports tool. And before she does that, just a very quick reminder that the session is recorded and we're going to share the recording with you afterwards. And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box and we will have dedicated time afterwards to answer all of them. Thank you. Rosa, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me just take control here. All right. Participation reports. This is a representation of the metadata that's available via our free REST API. And there's a separate participation report for each member, and it shows what percentage of that member's content includes the 11 key metadata elements. As a member, you can use the participation report to see for yourself where the gaps in your metadata are, and perhaps compare your performance to others. Participation reports are free and open to everyone. Now, we just saw in the previous section that Marina was sharing that the richer your metadata is, which means the more metadata elements you include, the more chance your content has to appear in one of the downstream tools, and therefore, rich metadata increases the discoverability of your content. But it's not necessarily that easy to find how rich that is by using the APIs or looking at the XML like that. So some folks might find it easier to look at something a bit more visual, which is why a few years ago we created the participation report. These are available online and they are completely open. And you can use these to find how complete your organization's metadata is. You can also look up metadata completeness for other organizations of your interest, for example, a sister organization or a competitor, just so you can see and compare. So to start with, I'm going to show you what the interface looks like and what it is that you can see. And then once I've finished, we will open this session up for some questions. We'll give you a link to the participation report, and we'll ask you all to take a moment to look up your organization and then ask us any questions that you have about what you are seeing, or essentially anything that you'd like us to ask us about the reports. So let me walk you through the interface. When you first see the participation report, it looks like this. You just need to start typing the name of your Crossref member organization. And you'll start to see names appear on the drop-down list, as you see here. And then you just simply select your organization. Now note, when you enter the member name, it must be the name of your account with Crossref. So what you see on your invoice, or the name that you used on your sponsor member application. And when you select the organization, you will see this main page of the report and the information about that organization. And here's an example of a member's report. This is eLife. There's a lot of information on this report, so we can take a look at each of the items individually. At the top, you can see the name of the organization and also the total number of items or DOIs that have been registered with us. There are 11 metadata types listed with the percentages of each registered content next to them. Now, these are the elements that we consider important to make content more useful and discoverable. These include references, ROR and ORCID identifiers, funding information, URLs for licenses, and the similarity check service, abstracts, crossmark, if your organization uses these services, and affiliation metadata. We currently support 3 institution identifiers, ROR, Wikidata, and ISNI. Each one has a percentage, as you can see, displayed next to it. And now you can dissect this in this data in a few ways. On the left side of the report, you can choose between viewing statistics for the current content items, which are items published within the last 2 years. Backfile, this is content that's older than 2 years or by all time. And just note that not all the fields will be populated for all of the titles. Contents, published in 1960. Isn't going to have an ORCID, for example. Some types of publications may not have abstracts, and some back issue content won't have much funding detail the further back you go. Now, if your organization registers DOIs for more than one journal, you can also use this box here, indicated with the red arrow in the middle, to find the results for just one of your journals. The report can show the percentage of metadata for just that title rather than the total content for that member. And this is important as there may be different editors depositing for each journal, and they may not include or collect and include the same metadata in all of their records or all of their deposits. And I do want to mention that it is possible to register journal article DOIs without an ISSN. You need to register a journal title level DOI in place of an ISSN. This can be removed and the metadata updated once the ISSN is assigned. And you can only find journal articles with ISSNs in the search field. Each item has a More Information button that when clicked will display an explanation of each of the items with links to more information, including why that metadata is important and how it can be improved, just in case you're doing this some other time and you can't really remember what each of these things can mean. This can be really helpful. Just hover your mouse or your over the eye icon and click the different sections to read more. You'll see things like why the metric is important. You'll get links to documentation and how to improve your score. So now let's take a look at each of these metadata elements individually, starting with references. This is one of the key bits of metadata to include. References are really important to us to build that picture of the research nexus that we were talking about earlier. Abstracts, you can include your abstracts in the metadata that might really help with discoverability of your content. You can also see ORCID IDs. These are the unique identifiers for individual researchers that Marina was talking about earlier. You can also include funder registry IDs, which help to identify the organization which funded the research, which is really useful for context for researchers when they're reading an article. You might also want to add specific fund award numbers. You also have the option of adding Crossmark information, and Crossmark is a service that we offer to help our members register metadata to indicate how current an item is or content is, and whether it has been updated in some way, corrected or retracted. You can also add in special URLs. If you're comfortable with researchers doing text data mining across your content, but you might want to have a specific URL with special permissions. For example, you could add license URLs to make it clear what license the content is available under. So whether it is open access, CC BY, or other license types. If you're using the similarity check service, you might want to add the similarity check URLs that allows Turnitin to index your content and include it in the Authenticate database. You'll include these URLs if you want to participate in the similarity check service. So if you want to make sure that your content is included when other users check submitted manuscripts for similarity to the content that's already been published. And finally, there's affiliations and WAR IDs to help identify which institutions your authors are affiliated with. So yeah, that's a quick description of each of the metadata fields in the participation report. So now here we are going to come to look at your participation report. So if you would like, you can open a browser as you follow along here and go to this URL, which is, HTTPS www.crossref.org/members/prep, PREP. And when you're there, you can start typing in your Crossref member name. If you aren't sure what that name is, or you're having trouble finding the account, just pop it into the Q&A, and Marina can try and help you look it up. And those of you who have found your participation report, do feel free to have a play around and take a look at your results. So we touched on this a little bit earlier. The other thing that you can do in this new interface, which we've had many requests for, is to download a report. So you can access which DOIs are missing certain metadata fields, and then integrate that into your workflow and take action directly. And that's achieved by clicking the Download Gap Report button. And you can see that in the image here where the red arrow is pointing to. Now, when you click the Download Gap Report button, this will show up in the pop-up window, which allows you to choose which metadata fields you're interested in. So for example, in this screenshot, we've selected ORCIDs, WAR IDs, okay, and we have these convenient selectors. You can see the red arrows here. So you can just want to select everything or nothing or what have you. But in this case, as you can see, these are the two that we selected. Choose which type of record you're interested in. So in this example, journal articles are selected. And then you can choose a time period. We set the default here for all time because it seems that's most likely what people would want to receive information about the records registered at any period. But you can filter as you wish. So now when you click the Download Gap Report button, it will go off and it will request this information from our API Live. And all the metadata for that record type, which are missing fields that you requested. So in this case, it would show us the ORCID and WAR IDs that are missing. And if you're looking at the report now, you can go ahead and select the field you want and include it in the gap report. And when you make your selections, click the Download Gap Report button. A CSV file is going to download, and we opted to go with the CSV format because it's easily accessible, a format that can be used with most spreadsheet software. And when you click on the Download Gap Report button, you're just going to see like the button fade away, and it starts to circle, but you know that it's processing the report. And this is just to kind of show you what it's going to look like. In this particular report, we have a screenshot here of it imported into Google Sheets. And it's very simple format, listing the DOI, the date that record was created, and the field that's missing. So in this case, you can see their ORCID IDs. And if you scroll down on this report, you would then see the WAR IDs, which we had selected in the report. And had we chosen more metadata fields, then all of those also would be in the report as well. And you can have up to 5,000 records in the report to download. If you require more than that, we can provide it, but you're just going to have to make a request to our support team. But hopefully 5,000 is a good enough number to start with. And then you can immediately start making improvements to your metadata coverage. We did want to point this out, just one little small kind of nice feature that's been implemented, and that's dark mode. So you may have noticed this little button at the top here where the red arrow is pointing to. And there's a little half moon there. You just click that. And it's a nice feature. Some people like to work in dark mode. It helps a lot with accessibility as well. Some people find the dark mode format is easier to use or easier to work with. Or if you're doing it at a time, when it's darker around, it's just easier on the eyes. It's just a more enjoyable interface. You just click back and forth as you wish. And it functions just the same as you would any dark mode or any device that you've ever used. Okay, so let's talk about things that don't fit as neatly into the usual journal article workflow. Books, conference papers, preprints, peer reviews, grants, all the variety of scholarly outputs people want DOIs for. And we made this decision tree to help you along so that you don't get stuck. So here at the top, the first question is, are you using OJS from PKP? If yes, wonderful. You can just, you should definitely use it. Use the Crossref OJS plugin. Just turn on the built-in Crossref plugin, and then you're done. This will need to be updated periodically so that you make sure that you have the most recent version of the plugin. And if we can find that link, Marina, that would be great. You can pop that into the chat. If you're not using OJS, we ask, are you comfortable writing or generating your own Crossref XML? Yes, you're comfortable with XML? Great, you've got two options. You upload the XML files whenever you want through our admin tool, or if you want to automate everything, send the XML directly to our API with HTTPS post. Most larger publishers and platforms end up using this because it scales well. No, XML makes you a little bit nervous, or you just don't have the technical resources to do it, not a problem. But the exact tool depends on what kind of content you're registering. If it's books, chapters, conference papers, reports, dissertations, things like that, head to our web deposit form. You just fill in the online form, click submit, and then we will turn it into XML behind the scenes. If it's individual journal articles or research, grants, awards, facilities, you can use our metadata manager tool. Again, no XML on your side. If you're registering preprints, data sets, components, peer reviews, posted standards, you'll have to use the XML for that. There isn't a no code form for those content types yet. So most folks either generate the XML with a small script or use one of some community tool that will generate ready to go files for you. And then you upload that using the admin tool. Our metadata manager tool will accept metadata for journal articles and grants. The big takeaway, whether you're a one-person operation or a large platform, whether you really enjoy writing code or run away from it, there's a path that fits. Now to recap, if you're updating DOI records one by one, if you use the OJS plugin, go to the relevant article, unpublish, add the missing element, save, and then republish. If you're using helper tools, redeposit the whole record with the missing element. If you send us the XML, send us your XML record with the missing element. Don't forget to update your timestamp. And we do have the OJS focused webinars that we have throughout the rest of the year. So you can keep an eye out for those on our events page, which is crossref.org/events. And we schedule those often. And we also have webinars for metadata managers. So keep an eye on that if you want to learn a little bit more about those tools as well. If you're updating in bulk, certain elements can be added in bulk by uploading a CSV file on the web deposit form. So those will be funding data, similarity check URLs, text and dating mining URLs, and license information. If you need help, please contact our support team and they'll be happy to help you with it. All right, so that's the interface for the participation reports. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and we'll have a look to see if anyone has any questions in chat, and we'll be happy to help you out. Okay, great. So let's see how we're doing in chat.
Thank you so much, Rosa, for such a detailed walkthrough through our participation reports. This has been great. I have shared the link in the chat with our attendees, and I'm going to do this again in case you lost it. So everyone can go there and you search for your account name. Do let me know if you cannot find it. I can try and figure it out for you. And yeah, if I already answered a couple of questions in the Q&A. So you should all see them in the answer tab. And I see we're talking now with John about license URLs. And I can see that John mentioned that they have a license link on the landing pages. They don't show up in the participation reports under license URLs. So including the information on your landing page doesn't necessarily mean that this information is included in the metadata of your registered record. So you do need to register this and include this information either when you're registering the DOI or if you want to update the metadata for this record afterwards, usually you can just use the same content registration method to update the same record. John here is saying that there is no field for license URL in the submission form. Depending on which content registration method you use, there is one or another option. I am 99% sure that in the new metadata manager for journal articles, there are fields for license URLs. If you are registering other content types, probably the best way to update your DOI records would be just to reach out to our support, and maybe they can help you upload and update all of this in bulk. So I've also left an email there. You can just send them a quick email. The more information you give to our technical support team upfront, the easier it is for them to help you. Okay, books. Yeah, so it's best if you just reach out for them for the books. Our team is working on adding books as a content type to the new metadata manager. So we're expecting it to be possible to register DOIs for books through that tool by the end of the year. So I hope this helps. And then we have another question from Vincent. Often our articles are self-funded or funded by a donor that are not a part of a funder registry. What is a good practice for this situation? So if your organization, if you're self-funded for the articles, or another donor, if they have a ROR ID, a ROR, which is a registry for organizations, research organization registry. I'm also going to send a link to the chat so you can all check it out. So a lot of organizations worldwide now also have their ROR ID. And we are also slowly moving away from funder IDs to ROR IDs because funding organizations also have that. And it is easier to build the research nexus when you include the ROR IDs. So that would be the best practice for this situation. If it's self-funded, you include your ROR ID. If you don't have a ROR ID yet, you can go on their website and there is a form where you can suggest an addition. And we're working closely with the ROR team, and they do this on a regular basis, review all of the submissions, and then update the registry on a regular basis. The other option would be just to write down the name of the organizations involved in affiliations. I wouldn't say it's a good practice, but it's better than not including it at all. So I hope that helps. And yeah, just giving everyone time to look at their participation reports. Also, if you have more questions, drop them in the Q&A. Kate mentioned that she doesn't understand the ROR ID comment. So if you haven't heard of a ROR ID before, now, since you're a Crossref member, you know what a DOI is. So it's a persistent identifier for a piece of content. And then you also have ORCID IDs, which is an identifier for an author, so for an individual. And ROR ID is an ID for organization. And I see that your journal attracts people with no funding. It's not necessarily every time there is funding. You only include this information if there is funding. Or maybe your authors are also affiliated with other institutions and they have already, so you can include that as well. But it's very important also when you're looking at this participation report to understand, because you know your content best. We're here to show you what our tools are and educate you about what metadata is and why is it important. But it is also very possible that maybe you can never reach 100%. Just for example, there is no funding for the journals and therefore there will be no funding information. And that's absolutely fine. We just want to make sure that you have a tool that gives you also a bit of a visual overview for the most important main metadata elements for the records that you register with Crossref. and you all have an option to fill the gaps in these records. Although sometimes the gaps are just there because there's nothing to be filled, and that's perfectly fine. So I hope this clears things up a little bit. If anyone who's now here with us wants me to open your participation report and kind of look at it live and discuss it, I'm happy to do that. If you would just drop a link in the Q&A or in the chat, or if you're still looking at your report and you have more questions, just leave them in the Q&A box and I'll be happy to answer those. I'm gonna make a break in my monologue now and just let everyone discover your own report. Just noticed there was a reply from Vincent that the OGS fund already is not accepting the already. This is because FundReady and the RawReady are different IDs, essentially. So there should be, I think in OGS, depending on which version you are, there should be a RAW plugin or something like this that would enable you to include that. Since there's so many different OJS versions and there's so many different plugins, as you probably know, the best way would be to reach out to the support from PKP and say that we want to deposit raw IDs in our metadata or with Crossref, and they would be able to advise on the best way to do that. I also see some more questions. What similarity check services are available and which ones do you recommend? So we are currently at the moment only offering the similarity check service, which is powered by Turnitin using Authenticate software, and only our members are eligible for the service at a discounted rate. And for that, you would need to go on the website. You would search for, I'm going to pull the link right now, similarity check. So for that, you would go there and there is a button to check your eligibility. So not everyone can have access to similarity check. You need to make sure you include these full text URLs, so similarity check URLs, so the Turnitin team can also access your content, because that's how you get a discounted rate for the service, is that they're also using your content in their checks. And then you can also see fees on our website. The annual fee is 20% of your membership fee, and then they're also per document checking fees. And I think the first 100 documents checked is free. So this is the only service that we're currently offering. We've heard also a lot of our members being interested in the AI add-on for the service. Currently, it's not being offered through Crossref, and you need to go and chat with the Turnitin team directly to enable this add-on for your organization. And if we are going to be offering any more services in the future, I will make sure to let everyone know about that. So I hope that helps. What if I have dual author affiliation? Again, depending on the content registration method, you should be able to include more information, not necessarily just one. So if you're experiencing any issues adding it in the form, whether you're using a metadata manager or a web deposit form or maybe some plugin, just take a screenshot and send it to our support team, and they will be able to advise you best on your specific situation. Because again, so many different methods, so many different contents. but it should definitely be possible. We have another question. So Anik is very surprised by the poor statistics in the GAP report. I really thought I entered some of the missing information as affiliation of the authors. During the last 2 years, we only had the web deposit form. Was a problem with the collect of the data entered in this form. I would need to take a look at your registered DOIs and see if it's something missing or no. Generally, if you were working with the web deposit form, everything that you've entered there should be saved in the metadata. So if you would maybe send me privately here in the chat your account name, I'm happy to follow up with our support team so they can do a bit of more review on your account and let you know how to improve that and why did it happen this way. Also keep in mind that there is this toggle that Rosa showed you in the beginning on the side that says current records and all time or back file. So maybe some of your older DOI records don't have that, and that's fine. It's very important to interpret correctly. How do you want to, what are you seeing and what is the content that you have been registering with us? All right, I'm gonna give everyone another couple of minutes to look through your report and also to ask any other questions if you have left. Israel is asking us in the chat, I'm the head of the University Institutional Repository. Could I obtain a raw registration with the repository's name and thus use it as metadata when depositing DOIs? So the best way to go about that would be to submit the request to ROR team, since it's not Crossref who is in charge of ROR IDs per se. And if you submit the form for them, you would get a reply within the next couple of days, and they will be able to advise you further. Anonymous NMD is asking, is reference metadata available for books? Yes, so you should be able to include the references when you're registering DOIs for books as well. And Anik, I see that you privately sent me an example of the DOI, so I'm gonna look into this in a little bit. And if we run out of time with the event, my team will send you an email follow-up today or latest tomorrow to figure out what's happening. Okay, leaving last minute for other questions. But if we've answered so many questions and there nothing else, we might as well just slowly come to an end and wrap it up. And yeah, let's stay connected. And please, I encourage you to look in our documentation on our website. You can see that it's a fairly easy link. It's at crossref.org/documentation. I also encourage you to take a look at our community forum. It's community.crossref.org. We have a lot of members and just genuinely interested people in metadata asking questions there. Our team is also answering these questions quite often, and sometimes maybe before waiting for our support team to reply, just do a quick search there. Maybe someone already had this issue and it was already answered, so that can help you. Otherwise, you can contact the team directly. I've been leaving support@crossref.org as an email for our technical support, but also for all of the questions. I really recommend going on the website/contact, and there you can choose what kind of questions do you have, and it's going to ask you to submit a bit more information about your account, because again, the more information our team has when we receive your request, the easier it is for us to help you faster. And also all of the social links, you've seen them, probably how to find us on LinkedIn or on Blue Sky or Mastodon. And yeah, thank you all for joining. And as a wrap up, I see a last question from Fausto in the Q&A. How can we register an extra content as a graphical abstract or a movie abstract? So again, there are very many different content types that are being accepted, and we would need to take a look at your actual content to see what would be the best appropriate content type for it. So as I mentioned before, there are so many different ways, and it's really hard to give you a good answer not knowing what I'm talking about. What is your content specifically? So just reach out to our support, send them a link for your landing page or for a content itself, and say, hi, I want to register this. I'm not sure which content type should I be choosing. And they would be really happy to advise you. So yeah, thank you everyone. It's been a great time together with you. As I already mentioned earlier today, the slides and the recording will be shared within a couple of days. So if you have registered, and since you're here, you have registered, don't worry, you'll be on the list to receive these materials, and you will be able to look at them afterwards if you decide to refresh your memory in a couple of months and see how your metadata has been improving over time. Yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you all very much for joining.
Thank you
And
all.
let's wrap it up, Rosa, shall we?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all for joining. Recording and slides over the next few days or so. Take care. Thanks, Marina.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.